Good afternoon. We're here to talk about the death of Jayland Walker. My office's work and the decision of the grand jury is driven by the law as it is, not as it might be. The grand jury, in this case, served as a voice of the community, and my office made a point of neutrally presenting all the evidence to that grand jury. And there was a great deal of evidence presented so that the grand jury could make a well-informed decision based on all the facts. While many grand jury cases take only minutes, this case took more than a week because of the large amount of evidence that was presented. It's important to note at the beginning that the job of our office was to investigate the events at the invitation of the Akron Police Department, and then at the invitation of the Summit County prosecuting attorney to present that case to the grand jury. The grand jury was instructed about the law by the judge that oversees it, not as is customary by the prosecutors, to avoid any question about the accuracy of the legal instructions. Here is a shorthand version of what transpired. In June last year, Mr. Walker took at least one shot from his vehicle at the police, led them on a chase, and exited from his vehicle in a ski mask, ignoring multiple commands by officers to show his hands and to stop. As you will hear in more detail from the prosecutors who presented the evidence to the grand jury, a foot pursuit ensued, which officers, still having every reason to believe that Mr. Walker was armed, attempted to use non-lethal tasers to subdue him. Mr. Walker then reached for his waistband in what several officers described as a cross-draw motion, planted his foot, and turned toward the officers while raising his hand. Only then did the officers fire, believing Mr. Walker was firing again at them. Although the officers did not know it at the time, Mr. Walker had left his recently purchased gun in his car. However, there is no doubt that he did, in fact, shoot at police officers. Shell casing from that shot was recovered on the entrance ramp to State Route 8, and ballistics traced that back and matched it to the weapon in Mr. Walker's vehicle. The law allows officers to use deadly force to defend themselves or others against a deadly threat. Now, the Summit County grand jury, people who live there in the community, spent more than a week reviewing the BCI investigation. The grand jury concluded that the officers were legally justified in their use of force. The grand jury just a little while ago issued what is called a no bill, meaning that there will be no state criminal action, no charges at the state level. That does not resolve any potential civil action that might be brought for wrongful death. Now, legal justification does not change the terrible permanent
Jordan, are you good to push?
Jayland Walker's death. I grieve the loss of this promising young life, although I recognize that no words of mine can offer much comfort to his family. I do hope they will find some comfort in this. Ohio is unified today in mourning the loss of their son and family member. The body camera footage in this case is especially grievous to watch. Most officer-involved shootings involve an officer or perhaps an officer and a partner. It is unusual, although hardly unprecedented, to have this many officers firing their weapon at the same time at a single subject. The sheer number of shots is one of the things that makes the video so hard to watch. Multiple officers, each making an independent judgment about a threat and acting independently to neutralize that threat, creates a dynamic that amplifies the use of force exponentially. That being said, it is critical to remember that Mr. Walker had fired on the police and that he shot first. There is no more serious matter than when the government takes the life of a citizen. Several years ago, I took the first ever step of publishing our investigative files on every use of deadly force by the police that we investigate. Later today, the files in this case will also be published on our website for everyone to see. I'm proud of the work of our investigators. As you will see, their work was extensive and thorough. The reason I decided to begin publishing all of the evidence that our investigators find was to help each community that has a tragedy like this to understand what actually happened and to know that the investigation was thorough, expert, and independent, to know the truth. Now, one of our career prosecutors who presented this case to the grand jury will walk you through the evidence in more detail. Anthony Pearson is a career prosecutor with experience in the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, as well as being a senior assistant attorney general here in our special prosecutions unit. I dare say that he has handled more of these kinds of cases than anyone in Ohio, and he contributed to the book we published on officer-involved critical incidents. When he is done with more detailed summary, I will return and we both will answer questions to the best of our ability. Thank you. Anthony?